Now, Tim Taylor, Denise DeCenzo, Casey Coleman on sports, and Dick Goddard with weather. This is News Center 8.
Good evening, everyone.
Thanks for joining us. Here's what's happening. On a day the earth shook here in northern Ohio, the nation paid tribute to 7 astronauts who roared into the history books aboard the space shuttle Challenger. Ironically, just minutes before the start of memorial services, a rare earthquake measuring 5 on the Richter scale rumbled across the North Coast and far beyond, from Illinois to Washington, D.C., and from Michigan to West Virginia. With the quake center near Chardon, some of the heaviest damage occurred in Mentor. Madison High School and the Perry nuclear power plant had to be evacuated.
We come together today to mourn the loss of 7 brave Americans. To those they left behind, the mothers, the fathers, the husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, yes, and especially the children.
America mourned its 7 heroes today, just yards from the last link to Challenger, Mission Control in Houston. And in Akron they gathered to remember Dr. Judy Resnick, the astronaut, the pride of Northeast Ohio.
We have a series of reports on both events tonight, beginning with Martin Savage standing by in the newsroom with a wrap-up of the day the North Coast was on the move. Marty.
Where were you when the ground shook? It is a question which was repeated around Northeast Ohio many times today. Just before noon, an earthquake rippled through the area, creating a rare sensation for millions of people. There's no official dollar figure, but damage estimates could easily run into the millions of dollars.
The building was just shaking, and it had us all very frightened.
The earthquake measured 5.0 on the Richter scale and was centered about 30 miles east of Cleveland in Geauga County near Chardon. Nearby Mentor was one of the area's hardest hit, as the 30-second rumbling did damage to many buildings. Most of Mentor schools were evacuated, and part of the roof collapsed at the junior high. Several students had to be attended to when they fainted. At one supermarket, the quake left a mess in its path, and its doors closed and locked.
I don't know whether it's safe to go in or not.
In Madison, the quake ended school early for 1,300 high school students. The tremor did structure damage in the form of cracked walls. It, too, will have to be inspected before reopening. After the earthquake, there were at least 2 reports of minor injuries, including a 5-year-old girl who was hit by a broken window on the Lake Erie College campus.
It shook bad. I thought everybody thought the building was going to fall down. You know, it was shaking so bad.
And all of a sudden people are running down the hallway. Oh my God, did you feel that?
The quake caused downtown buildings to swing and sway and created anxious moments for office workers, but there were no reports of damage. The most dramatic measure of the tremor could be seen on seismic equipment at John Carroll University. The delicate instruments jumped off the scale. But even though a 5.0 reading is considered strong, experts don't anticipate aftershocks.
We've been looking at our records here, and we have not seen any aftershock activity at all.
Now, the earthquake also triggered an on-site emergency at the Perry nuclear power plant, which was located not far from the epicenter. 1,500 first-shift construction workers were sent home. After the quake, an investigation found hairline cracks in a rad waste building and an intermediate building. But it's not clear if the tremor is to blame. The spokesman says there was no damage to the reactor and no danger of a radiation leak. All in all, the day the earth moved will be remembered, but one thing you have to remember about insurance is that if your home is damaged, your homeowner's insurance policy does not cover such things. In most cases, you need a separate earthquake policy. But covered or not, experts suggest that you carefully go through your home and look for any signs of damage. But we are going to be talking about the shimmering and swaying here in this city for a long time to come. Tim?
And Marty, the area's only earthquake monitoring station is located at John Carroll University. This morning, the seismographs began showing the Earth's crust shifting at about 10 a.m. And when the quake hit at 11:47, the tremor was so severe, the machines could not handle the reaction.
There aren't any really active faults that we know of in this area, but we may have found one here. We don't know.
And Father Ott said that today's quake will go down in the history books as the strongest ever to hit the Cleveland area.
Still to come on News Center 8, what was the strongest quake in Ohio? Dick will have the answer.
And we'll go to Akron and Houston for farewells to America's 7 Challenger heroes. Stay with us. A week of national mourning for the Challenger astronauts ended today in emotional memorial services in Houston and Akron.
Judy Resnick was born and raised in Akron, and her family still lives there. Today, as Akron correspondent Dick Russ reports, family, friends, and hundreds more remembered the woman and the dream.
They came from as far away as Houston and as close as her old West Akron neighborhood. Family, friends, and those who just wanted to be close to the memory of someone they didn't know personally, but admired because of her accomplishments and dreams. Her parents and family heard Judy Resnick eulogized as a woman who died trying to make one more of those dreams come true.
We still praise the Lord for sharing this precious human being with us, for sharing her with we who continue to benefit from her labor, and that labor was a labor of love.
13 fellow astronauts were there to say goodbye to a beloved friend and co-worker, including Sally Ride, the first American woman in space. As the congregation left Temple, Israel following the service, close friends of Judy Resnick's from childhood said they knew they had to be there to honor her memory.
She knew that the risks, I don't think she ever really thought there might be any, but she's where she wants to be.
As a final gesture, there was a flyover by NASA jets, the kind in which Judy Resnick learned how to become an astronaut. A salute from her fellow space travelers, tears from her family, for a woman who, long before she ever went into space, showed everyone she knew how to reach for the stars. Dick Russ, News Center 8, Akron.
Judy Resnick and her 6 colleagues were also mourned today at the place where it all began, Mission Control in Houston. President Reagan offered words of comfort and praise to the grieving families America's heroes left behind.
Man will continue his conquest of space, to reach out for new goals and ever greater achievements. That is the way we shall commemorate our 7 Challenger heroes. Dick, Mike, Judy, Elle, Ron, Greg, and Krista. Your families and your country mourn your passing. We bid you goodbye. We will never forget you.
Within minutes of today's memorial, members of NASA's disaster investigating team got right back to the task at hand. Off the Florida coast, more new evidence was pulled from the Atlantic. Some of the vital pieces of wreckage recovered are from Challenger's important cockpit section. They were floating on the surface more than 30 miles off the coast of Daytona Beach.
It looks to me like it might be the piece of the shuttle right underneath the windshield.
As wreckage is spotted by the choppers, smoke bombs are dropped to mark the spot.
Every hour that passes disperses the debris more and more.
Investigators say that some of the larger pieces have significantly helped in the search for a cause of the explosion. The pieces brought to shore include a large section from the front of the fuselage just below the cockpit, a long broken section of one payload bay door, an 8-foot part from the rear of one wing, and a hollow section of similar size forward on the wing. And tonight, a new theory on the cause, upper-level wind shear causing structural damage. A bit later on News Center 8, we'll have a tribute to all 7 of the Challenger crew.
Stay with us.
Well, the town is still buzzing tonight about that rare earthquake that shook up the area earlier today. Dick, how did this quake compare with earlier Ohio earthquakes?
This was registered 5.0 on the Richter scale. Now, the quake that was more severe than this one, the last one we had, was evidently in Ohio, the Anna earthquake in 1937. And that registered an estimated 5.5 on the Richter. Anna is in Shelby County in west central Ohio. The benchmark of all United States quakes, at least in this century, of course, the great San Francisco quake of 1906, and that was estimated at 8.3 on the Richter, and that's a logarithmic scale. Each number is 10 times greater than the one before.
Well, were there any warnings that an earthquake was imminent?
Sometimes animal antics can presage these earthquakes, and I had a report here that cats were found crawling on the floor. A cockatiel was going berserk in its cage out in Chesterland. A report of a dog all of a sudden beginning to scurry under the bed about 10 minutes prior to the shake. Had a call from a lady in Ashtabula, said that the gas wells in Ashtabula County had been gurgling and making very strange sounds the last 5 days. A friend called who was at Severance Hall today. The Cleveland Orchestra was in concert into Dvorak, and all of a sudden there was an ominous sound in Severance Hall, not so much in the way of vibration. The orchestra immediately quit, I don't blame them, and took their instruments right out the door. Another unfinished symphony. We are going to finish the month of January tonight, and February will get off to one of those starts, but all in all, the temperatures over the weekend are going to be a little above normal and above freezing. All of that coming up.
Dr. Judy Resnick.